Welcome, boys. So, thanks for coming on my podcast. I've got Australian boxing royalty, Australian Aboriginal community royalty, the famous Rose Brothers on the podcast today. How are you?
Good, Brian. Thanks for getting us in here.
You want to introduce yourselves for people who don't know you?
Oldest to youngest.
Go on then. No, I'll go first. I'm Matt, oldest brother.
And George, middle,
How
black
old,
sheep.
how old are you, George?
I'm 4 years younger than Matt, so whatever he is, minus 4. Little tramp,
Trent,
little baby.
little baby brother. You don't go on podcasts, and I'm very grateful and I'm very honoured that you've come on my podcast today. We got a long association, very close, our families, and mate, you want to tell us how the connection come with you and your mob and us and our mob?
I think probably we started. Obviously, a lot of stuff connected up later on with Uncle Jimmy and Pop and I guess our families that were part of I guess an Aboriginal movement at some stage when we were a lot younger. But we grew up in Walgett. That's where our dad and his family is from. So we grew up in Walgett as little fellas, and then we moved around a little bit. We went to Narrabri and then on to Bathurst after Dad had passed, and from there we sort of made our way to Sydney at different stages and connected up with you guys later on. I think it was at a touch carnival actually. Me and Wop connected up there. I was we played state cup together actually. Set up the win and try.
You did.
In the semi-final, we get us through to the final.
You did.
Boys still going about it, yeah. I first started when I first got there, and they wouldn't put me in the starting lineup. The boys, they didn't know me.
So what team was it?
It was what were we called? I can't think of what we were called. It was like a Central Coast team. So Wackenham had come up from Newcastle. A lot of the boys in the team, and I was just this sort of little outcast that got put in the team. And sort of know the boys early on. Actually, Deej said last night he thought I was Lebanese. So he said we were joking around last night.
Yeah.
And anyway, we got through the finals. We were in a drop off in the semi final, and that's when I started hitting my straps, and the boys threw me straight in. Flick pass, got us through to the finals.
So how old was you at that time?
Well, I don't know, about 16, 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fairly young, and then we've just been able to connect with you boys since then, and obviously tribally connected as well, so it's been a big journey, man.
We've done a lot of stuff over the years,
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, 10-year anniversary since we went to New York. You done that song with Naughty by Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty insane.
So like you're about 60 now, so like 60
If I'm 60 you're 72, so I'm 12 years younger than you. Like George is 4 younger than me. So whatever age you go, knock him back 12.
Who was older, you or George?
No, George got me covered. They always think he's my older brother, so I roll with that. He gets wild about it, but
What do you think about that, George?
That's one way to burn a relationship when they ask that question, who's the oldest?
they actually think I'm the youngest. Even Trenny gets put in the middle,
Hey, true.
They're just saying that. They all know I carry the baby face on, right?
Oh, alright. Yeah, so it's been a while, bro. What's that? 16 years?
Oh, he's over 20 years.
Over 20
Leave it
years.
at that.
We just stay close. Oh, you and Walt best mates, and yeah, he's real close, and just build our relationships, eh?
Oh yeah, just with our families, with our families, and then obviously rivalry on the football field with Yowies and Whack.
Mm.
We rival but supporters in the same breath, like.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
I think it's kind of like, you reckon it's kind of like we're Aboriginal men first. We've grown up here in Australia in a system where we've had no choice but to actually stand up and try and fight for our families and communities. It's the historical connection of Australia and Australia's history. So we're outcasts. Your family obviously grew up in Walgett, and you have a look at our old people and the history of where they grew up on dirt floors and on the outskirts of town, missions and town camps. Do you want to talk a little bit about your pop as well and like that historical movement of, because your pop was a legend in Aboriginal rights and land rights and that, and I think it's something we need to talk about, your historical connection and how you continue to carry the flag for our people on an international scale now. Is the biggest boxing promoters in Australia. He's gone international now, bro. So from those dirt floors and all that, and our people being oppressed for the last 200 plus years, to now, what years have taken it. I don't think people realise the drive and the passion and your why for why you do what you do. You want to talk a little bit about your pop, Uncle George?
Well, I think one thing with what you said there, like at the time they might have been, dirt floors and all of that, and they didn't let that hold them back from trying to achieve more and achieve equality, achieve greatness. Now we're in a situation where we've had better opportunities the way that we grow up, as far as schooling and access to employment and everything like that. And it just means that we're in a different position to strive for different things. We still have that same drive, that same motivation that they had. We're just in a different living situation to what everyone would have been back then. And I think that's one of the things that I have always taken from Pop is that he always pushed for more. It started with being pushed to be treated respectfully at the time, because I think at that time, Aboriginal people weren't treated respectfully.
We weren't classed as citizens at that time. You're popping that. We weren't classed as Australian citizens, but so it's kind of like they had it way harder than us.
Yeah, and it didn't stop his like I said, it didn't stop his work ethics. He still went to the war and fought for this country, come back and was again treated like a second class citizen on return, even though he fought for the country.
Mm.
He was a gun shearer. He was instrumental in the Aboriginal Medical Service and Aboriginal Legal Service in Walgett, and I think we were talking about that recently. I think their drive for what they were trying to achieve in better health outcomes and better legal outcomes for our people who were being mistreated at the time. I feel like it's some of them organisations have gone away from that a little bit. Like the legal service is a lot different to how it was, I think, when they set it up and why they set it up. To look after our people. And the people who are around it too. Some of the people that we were lucky enough to meet as kids growing up, who are now like, high court judges and Queen's counsels. Like really high-ranking legal people. These are people that Pop used to have in his house when we were kids. They'd sit in Pop's house and listen to Pop to be able to learn legal stuff. Like, I mean, it was way over my head, but they were learning from Pop on what they should have been doing and what was fair and how people should have been treated. And they've gone on to tremendous careers, legal careers, and bumping into it now. They still credit the learnings that they had from Pop at that time for what's led to them being where they are now. And hearing stories like that, and like hearing, having our own memories and hearing different stories like that, that's one of the things that always keeps our motivation and keeps our drive as well too, because it's easy to get caught up, you're you're getting the monotony of what you're doing, but then you hear things like that and it reminds you of what your drive is and why you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. What you're talking about, like those community outcomes about AMSs and legal services and that. Do you think that maybe a lot of the people, our people, leaders now are actually saying that, you know what, the answer's not in having to be accountable to government. It's about empowerment in our people and setting our own businesses up. Like, for instance, yourselves, like No Limit, your business. Like, if you were accountable to government and all that, you have restrictions and that on you and what you can do with your money and stuff like that. Accountability, but do you think that maybe setting your own businesses up and economic empowerment's the way forward for our people?
I think it forces you to be accountable. It forces you to have tough lessons when you do have your own business. Like unless you've had mentors before it, unless you've grown up around it and seen it firsthand yourself. I think it's pretty hard. We've us and I think a lot of other black businesses, you're doing it on your own and learning your way down that path on your own.
Yeah.
So your lessons come from mistakes. You learn the hard way, and so that probably slows your growth and slows the journey. But they're still probably the best lessons you can have is learning from your mistakes, learning from your failures, learning from your shortcomings, and the sometimes the lack of knowledge that you might have about something. I mean, I've still been studying while we've been in the business, and there's things that I'd learned in my studies that I thought, far out 5 years ago, that would have made us, we could have made money off that instead of blowing money because we didn't know that those simple business principles or them simple marketing principles, whatever it might have been, that you don't learn because you're just out there learning it as you go. And so that's sort of been part of the journey, I think.
I think also what you say, Abe, around I refer to it as economic independence, is the key to future for Aboriginal people. Because if we're able to control and talk about generational wealth and things like that, that we don't have as Aboriginal people, and we haven't had to have that or unable to have that because of what's happened in the past, and George makes a point around we're learning on the run now, and so as we learn on the run now, hopefully that can change the future for our kids and our people down the track, and I think it's a different fight we have now to what our old people had, because their fight was to get to a certain point of being at least being given opportunities, like you think of all the government jobs that exist now for Aboriginal people were never really around back then. And their fight they had was to get to that point where people were able to secure those sort of jobs. So a lot of people sit in jobs now that 150,000 a year jobs in government and don't realise the fight that happened for them to get there. They don't, but I do. I've always known where it comes from. I mean, we marched since we were little kids. Like, remember being on Dad's shoulders at the age of 3 and 4, and us marching for those rights for Aboriginal people. So we'll never ever forget where we come from, and we understand what's been laid before us. And I think we have that responsibility to continue to fight, but fight in a different way. Fight for our economic independence.
And No Limit. You want to talk a little bit about No Limit, your business, and to get to where you're at right now? Because far out, it was been a big journey, bro?
Yeah, and I mean it continues to grow, and we just try to do our best, really. I mean, the thought process around No Limit when we started was there was we're looking at things to do in that sporting space, and just so happened that we done some rugby league management for a little bit, and
The you and Wok we're all in
we
business together.
Yeah,
right?
we were, and
You
then
want to tell people about that?
yeah, we're together, and then we sort of thought we might try we might try see what can happen in that boxing space, and it's a little bit different to what was happening with Wok at the time. So we sort of went down that journey of the boxing, but obviously stayed aligned, always worked together and seen what we could do together. But
How long ago was that?
the boxing 10 years ago this year. Yeah, so it was 10 years ago we had our first show at the RSL Club, which we talk a lot about, because obviously having your first show at the RSL Club to do in stadium and arenas now is pretty surreal, and it's one that has been a stressful but enjoyable process, or journey. And
But it wasn't just that first where you cut your teeth on the big events. You want to tell people a little bit about like different tours and that we've been involved in?
Originally, yeah.
So it's not like you weren't. It's kind of like.
Yeah, but again, we were learning on the run. Exactly what George said earlier. I remember even when we toured Naughty by Nature, which was pretty cool. Again, we didn't really know what we're doing.
What year was that? 2010, 12.
Yeah, maybe 11 or 12. And then
So we took them to the knockout, eh?
Yeah, we took them to knockout. Well, they actually performed at our first boxing event. The after party was Naughty by Nature, which was pretty cool at the RSL Club, but then we had Naughty by Nature as after party.
Yeah,
People sort of believe us.
Was that 12? That was the year at Newcastle Panthers.
Yeah, I think it was about that 12. And then prior to that, we had Bauer, and we took the Walgett, which no one believed us at the time.
Remember on Facebook, they all the mob were crazy.
Training was probably, remember that when they were going on, they were saying it wasn't wake up yourself, Bow Wow isn't coming to Walgett. Do you remember that? That was pretty funny. You want to tell that story there, Trenny?
Abe's got the story.
Nah.
Like we were saying, that's to get someone probably of his status out there and stuff. He was probably wasn't massive at the time, but the things that he'd done prior to that was quite special, and to think that someone of his status was going to go to a little small community town of Walgett, people were just like, seeing all the comments and stuff on Facebook, and everybody was just adamant that he wasn't coming, and it didn't matter how many times we posted it, and even got him to put up own video saying he's coming out to Walgett, like Bow Wow himself did the video, and it still wasn't good enough. Still wasn't good enough for everyone, and lo and behold,
it wasn't until there was a bus. He turned up in a little mini 12-seater or something, and just people run from everywhere, and they couldn't get the bus.
Stand on the roof.
He stood on the roof.
2,500 people just swarmed him.
Yeah. So
that was crazy, eh?
Yeah.
People were like, how are you going to bring an international artist
to
Walgett?
Walgett RSL.
You said the one taking the Walgett.
Yeah. Well, we're going everywhere. We're going to all the major cities, and I said, "Well, you got to take him to Walgett." And they go, "Can't take him to Walgett." And I said, "You're going to have to, because everything we always do, we always think of our little town that we're from and we grew up in, and if we can always take them on a ride or journey that can include something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, because we weren't that far in it was actually when we run the Walgett knockout, and when we started the Walgett knockout, at the time there was no rugby league being played in the region, and everyone kept saying no one wants to play footy anymore, and I was like, everyone loves footy out there, that's what we live and breathe for. And I'm like, no, it won't work. So we just put it on, and we got 5 teams. That was a pretty cool day, and a few years later we run Bow Wow with with the after party, and probably got up to about 16 teams, and now it's up to 40 teams.
Yeah.
But it all started from 5 teams, and I think everything we've done has always been, we've always been willing to have a go. Probably it's probably one of the things that were instilled into us by our parents, mum and dad and pop, is that that drive to be successful and be the best we can, and no matter how big the task is, it's like, all right, how do we make it happen?
Yeah. It's and then after that, I would like the whole journey of No Limit. Like where he is at now with No Limit, and like what he is, or like just to let people know where he is at. Like Tim Zoo's obviously just won a world title. Who would have thought that 3 little blackfellas from Walgett, 1967, wouldn't have even been until 1967. Your parents weren't even classed as Australian citizens. Now you're in Las Vegas, you're negotiating with the biggest boxing promoters in the world. You're managing and promoting Australia's biggest boxers at the moment. Like, it's amazing. Like, to where you're at right now. Like, I think people need to know the enormity of where we're at as far as 2023. We're still living in a country where we've been denied the voice at the moment. Come through, I think it was something like 9 million people voted no, that we shouldn't have a voice, and 6 million voted yes. So, like, the odds that yous are up against, as far as we're still up against it, but yous are at where yous are at now. You want to tell people sort of where yous are at and the journey, and
Yeah, I mean,
you started years ago, Dubbo.
Yeah, and I guess we slowly build over that period of time, and we eventually got an opportunity with Fox Sports, and from there it's just our biggest. We focus on some key things that we wanted to bring to the sport around big matchups, or the right matchups, 50-50 fights, and all the different elements of what our show is. We try to make our show entertaining, entertainment being at the forefront of what we do. I guess where we're at from a boxing lens is, we're one of the top promoters, or the top promoter in the country. We now do, I think this year, how many shows we do, boys?
Ended up with 14, 2 of those international.
Yeah, so 14 shows this year on Fox Sports, which is pretty good. I don't think it's been done before, that many shows by a promoter in the history of the Fox Sports, around how many we put on this year. We're only going to put on more next year. We've got world champion Timmy Zoo, who was, when we started, we put our belief in him, and I guess he put his belief in us. So it's been a really unique ride with Timmy, because we just keep going higher and higher, and Timmy just keeps performing, and we try to put on the best shows, and we have a great mix there. He's got a great team, he's got a great manager, a great trainer, and we're that third element around the promotion, so we'll try to stick in our own lanes and deliver what is the shows that we do. And I guess, with that comes a big responsibility, because we're going to put on the biggest and best shows in the country for boxing, and so it's not all smooth riding. It's hard work. There's a lot of stressful nights and long hours, and a lot of work goes into everything we do. And I think think that's one of the things we carry again around the values that we learned was about working hard and getting things done no matter what. And if we didn't have that attitude, we wouldn't be able to be where we are now. And as we continue to grow internationally, and we're looking at having our first event in the US next year, which will be pretty enormous when it comes to the little blackfellas putting on a show in America. It's pretty cool.
Underdogs, eh, bro?
Yeah,
It's kind of like the whole underdog thing.
yeah,
We're coming from the smallest oppressed community in Australia to being you guys bringing Timmy in and Timmy buying into it, everyone buying into each other.
Yeah.
And Australia being such a small country on a world stage.
Yeah.
Now we're going over there with the big dogs, and it's kind of like, bro, it's phenomenal where you're at. And so who else have you got that's coming through that could be like Tim?
Well, I think there's a wealth of talent in Australia that have been earthed and unearthed. I guess our next big fighter on the cards, well, we've probably got two actually in really prime positions, and that's Liam Wilson and Sam Goodman. Liam just recently fought for a world title this year over in Phoenix. And it's still heartbreaking to this day for the poor fella because he dropped this massive name, Manuel Navarrete, coming up a division, pretty much untouched world champion, and Liam dropped this guy and absolutely rattled him. And being the B side over there, the fighter got probably about a 30-second count, which really helped him, saved him, and got him through to the next round. And yes, that was pretty big for Liam to be on that stage and just being a whisker of being that world champion. And then obviously you got Sammy Goodman's. He's in number one position now to be fighting for world titles, both ranked in the IBF and WBO. Massive names that's in the boxing world that we're looking to continue to grow in Australia and put them on that world stage. We've got the likes of Nikita now, again, ones that are being earthed, that we're just growing into the household names because we really want boxing to be, one of the top tier sports in Australia. That's our goal for this. It's Australia probably based a lot on the NRL and AFL, but we really want to put effort into these fighters to be able to make it their full-time professions in the future. That's the investment, the long-term investment for it. So it's a long path to get there, but as the boy was saying earlier, just that hard work, dedication that's been instilled from a very young age. It's something where you want to push to get to now.
So would that be like different businesses buying in and supporting younger boxers and up-and-coming Australian boxers?
Yeah, I think that, but then also just the population in general. Obviously, businesses and all that help, sponsorship-wise and everything, but viewership.
It's a fan base.
Yeah, most just
building a fan base, and I mean it's showing now where you compare what it was like 5 years ago to how it is now. It's quite remarkable the engagement we get for boxing.
Yeah. Did you have any reservations as far as going into this field? Because obviously there would have been people in the sport that would have been in that lane a long time.
Yeah, we got blocked. We got blocked all the time.
Oh, he's got blocked.
Yeah. Oh, it happens. I mean, it's like any industry, really. I mean, there'll be people that, and I mean, there's still people now that tend to not always try to work in, but I mean, all you can do is work with what you can work with, and we're always confident in what we deliver as a product. And I think now fighters see the level that we're at and what they can be on if they're part of the No Limit shows, Yeah. I reckon anyway. That's my opinion.
No, I reckon they see the effort that we put into it.
I think we come from an oppressed people who've had to think laterally too. Like even from taking Bow out of Walgett.
Hmm.
What did Bow Wow say? Remember when we went to Walgett? I can see tell
I
us.
can't remember what he said, but it was, what did he say? What did he say?
Man, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Who brought me out of here, man?
I can imagine he would have been freaking out on that road trip, eh? You know, when you leave Dubbo and it just gets more wide open and there's nothing around, and then
And you hit the
pop up in the Walgett.
you hit the
The
Canberra
level.
Road there first. Before you hit the Canberra Road, it's an hour and 10 minutes of just straight road. And he must have been thinking, well, what am I doing? Because I remember when he turned up, he was at the sound check and he was just blown away by where he was performing, you know. Like, I think
That's weird.
he might have thought Walgett was like Sydney or something.
Brisbane
you know,
to Sydney to Walgett.
Yeah, that's what it was. Brisbane, Sydney, I think he might have Cairns in there, one other place, and then we took him out to Walgett. So
That's lateral thinking, eh, bro?
So it was something.
We take our people on our journey.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that great for us from a financial point of view. It probably cost ourselves money, but we got to give a once in a lifetime opportunity for everyone that attended that, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we've been able to create a lot of times with the things we've done for our community or for our people, you know. So it's about trying to lift people up and take you on the same path, you know. It's about trying to build everyone up as you're up, you know, take everyone along the journey, and
Yeah,
I think it's something we always think about.
yeah. And it's very passionate. Walgett WAC. Can you tell me a little bit about WAC, the Koori Knockout team, footy team, and football? Why it's so big for you fellows, our community, especially here in New South Wales?
I think the first thing I'll say, and
These are the champs this year.
well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
We're the current champs.
These are the current
We're the current
champs.
champs.
These are the current
So we get to
champs.
carry that for 12 months, and I think that's one of the that's a good 12 months coming.
Mad,
Yeah.
it's mad.
We're the champs for 12 months.
These are the champs.
It's the most. Yeah, I mean,
You
yeah.
want to tell people what the Koori Knockout means, because whatever we do all year round, it still means something.
Oh yeah,
massive for
everything
us.
stops. Like it doesn't matter. We even try to clear our boxing schedule if they're trying to push us into an October fight. We try to push the other way, knowing that in the back of our mind we got knockout around there. We're not worried about anything else, you know.
And they'd be thinking, what the
Yeah.
hell's going on this October long weekend?
Yeah. No, it's something that, you know, we grew up with as kids. We're lucky enough that Walgett's always had a strong connection and knockout. It started with our uncle and his mates. You know, so we got three uncles from Walgett, that along with three sort of from the coast that created this knockout that now has grown in the, you know, I believe the largest gathering of Aboriginal people in Australia for a particular event, and it's something.
And there's one team of the year.
Yeah, we won that as a national award there the other week. Yeah, that was pretty good, eh? It's something that's we've grown up with, and now we've got our kids or nephews or cousins, whatever. We try to get them to get that same feeling about knockout, you know, so that it's just that feeling you have where you're connected and you turn up and you just embrace something, a special weekend of family and rivalry and footy is the thing that, I guess, it brings us all there, but it's just that feeling you have sitting around at the motel together and yarning and talking, and you don't get that all year. You don't get it. Like you can chase that all year and you'll never get it, but you turn up at the knockout, all of a sudden you get that feeling.
Yeah.
Well, it's a feeling that we have anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something, you know, our dad was very much a part of. We wanted to follow in his footsteps. You had to win 3 knockouts, and when we won our first, or we never thought, probably didn't think we were going to get there. We won our first one.
Mm.
Since then, we've won another 3, so we've won 4 knockouts. Our dad won 3.
Because your dad and his generation, the first knockout you won was here in Newcastle.
Yeah, it was.
88, just down the road here.
Yeah, it was. I was ball boy.
Yeah, I was ball boy for the Newcastle team.
We probably threw rocks at this.
Yeah.
We lifted us. He won the year before, eh?
Yeah, we won
in
Armidale. We won in Armidale, yeah.
And Armidale, and
our older cousins and uncles and stuff
Yeah.
like that all were in that team.
that's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But it's like generational thing, eh?
Yeah.
And it's passed on to the next generation.
yeah,
We're carrying those flags now. And
we sort of remember when you played in that semi and we were pushing you around.
here we
and
go,
that?
here we go.
What year was that? 2010, eh? Was it 10? You were playing front row?
2010.
Who won that
Yeah,
year?
George was running sideways.
Who won that year?
Who won that year? Who won?
I think it was Minda.
Nah, we lifted it.
Oh, did you? Oh, jeez.
Who did we play in the final?
You sound like you could
We-
be.
Minda.
We played Minder in the final, yeah.
We
This
lifted
could be,
yeah, 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I remember that semi though.
Just semi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yowies versus
That
Walgett.
was the first time we played.
Yeah. Well, we hadn't played this at as we were growing up, since probably the
87.
87 or something like that when Walgett met Newcastle in those sort of games. We played a couple of games against Emus.
NAB.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can't remember. Can't really remember NAB. I know Emus used to be a team that we always drew in Dubbo.
Yeah.
Probably a few years before that,
Yeah.
around the early 2000s.
Yeah. So,
But that 2010 when you were there.
yeah. So, we don't talk about games when Newcastle lose here, boys. Newcastle, we're all combined. I think it was 90 or 91 where we separated all of our Newcastle All Blacks and separated into the Emus, Newcastle Yowies and Newcastle All Blacks. Kept the original name, so they're our 3 main teams. Oh, we got Minda River as well.
Yeah.
From
I mean, we had
you sort of stuck together, or
yeah.
you said BAC. What was BAC
We had BAC and
and WAC?
we had WAC in a different form to what it is now. I mean, we had.
Because you were split. What year did that happen?
Well, I don't know whether it was split. It was more just the fact that there was an additional Walgett team that come along. I probably couldn't talk on it because I was too young. I remember Pop was with Walgett Aboriginal Community, I think it was, and it was Bowen Aboriginal Community.
Yeah.
And
So Barwon, is that
that's
the river there?
Yeah, and
Is that one side of town versus the other, or?
no, it wasn't. It wasn't really that. It wasn't really that, and it was just different people from town running a different team.
Local
But
politics.
there
There was a lot of talent in
No,
the
there was
town,
so much
really,
talent.
to be honest.
There was okay. So here's an example. We were the first. BAC were the first team to probably the almighty teams won 3 in a row, and they never got beaten Walgett. So they eventually they had the celebration of the 20th year or something that they took it back to Guildford. I don't know if you remember Guildford. I think it was about 92.
Yeah.
At the celebration, they took it back there. But 91, 90 and 89 or whatever the years were all Walgett. But the other Walgett team made the semi-finals. So there were 2 Walgett teams in the top 4.
So that was a generation. You had a good
Yeah,
generation.
there was so
That's
many
like
players
now.
who were like, I think Bubba might have even been in that other team, and Dad was in BAC, and sort of can't really. Lionel Boney, I think might have been in the other team. He was super quick when
He was a winger, eh?
Yeah, well, centre, I thought, winger centre, but he was fast. He actually.
How fast?
Fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he raced Graham Lyons in Walgett. They had this 100-metre sprint. Graham Lyons at the time was like a big name playing in Sydney at the time. I don't know, would have been what club he was at. I think he might have even played in New South Wales, did he?
Yeah.
So he was, and Lionel Blaney just, they were neck and neck all the way, and Lionel dived at the end, and we thought it was the greatest thing ever that while the fellow just beat like this big NRL star. And one of the other things that happened at that time was Ricky kicked the goal from halfway, and we went mad over that too, because we all used to fight over getting to the ground. If you got to the ground earliest, you could be sandboy, because if you're sandboy, you got to take the sand out to Rick. And so, and Rick at the time was, and again, people don't realise, but Ricky always come back and played at the knockout, regardless of how big he was in NRL. And I think that's the reason why George done the same thing. Tamana done it. There were a lot of players in that era that continued to always play at the knockout from word go, and you always knew how much Aboriginal community mean to the boys be able to come back and play in that.
Yeah.
Because now you see Cody does that, and Trell, and so it's something that.
What do you think about mob that is trying to whinge about keeping our NRL boys from coming back and playing with our community teams?
I think it would have been that if I wasn't allowed to play in the knockout while I was playing NRL, my career wouldn't last as long as it was, as long as it did. But my playing in the NRL is tough, and it's a business, and it's not as enjoyable as you'd like to think sometimes. And so having that opportunity to come back and play the knockout at the end of every year, that just fills you back up and gets you ready to go out and perform again in the NRL for another year. So I think the opportunity to get back with your community, get back with everything that you grew up on, that footy means so much to you, that's one of the reasons why NRL boys want to go back and play. And I think as a player, whether it's alongside or against, it's one of the highlights of the knockout. I remember when we used to get to play against, even like playing against Dino and that, like we'd try and do whatever. I remember playing Nathan Blacklock, and even then he was, on the back end of his career, like those opportunities are the maddest. And then even the year that just went, one of my highlights was playing Tweed Connections, playing against Dream Buller and Malcolm Webster. They were in the same team, Like Mal obviously didn't go on to a big NRL career, but he was one of the most exciting players that I enjoyed watching. And Dream Buller is one of the rising stars now. So, my little fellow was watching, and he's like, "Oh, you played against Dream Buller? That's bad." It's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
For most people, everyone enjoys it, embraces it. I mean, I think that sometimes our mob gets dragged into the negativity that was instilled at certain stages of our life cycle, and I think
depression.
Yeah,
that mentality, that welfare mentality of.
Yeah. We've got to lift up rather than stay down. I'd rather beat. I mean, look at the team we beat in the final, man. That was a crazy boys. That was a mad team they had.
Wiradjuri.
Yeah.
Aboriginal Rivers.
They were an awesome team. Like the boys really turned up and played their heart out, and we won the game. We shouldn't have won the game. People were predicting we'd get beat by 30 or 40.
Yeah.
So you got to take a different mindset to anything, and if you're up against an NRL player, that means you lift. You get better. The whole idea. I mean, for 20 years we never won the knockout. For 15 of those years, or let's say at least 12, 13 years, we'd get beat on the first round. Never once complained.
We did the same.
We didn't say you shouldn't have that player or that player or this player. We're like, okay, we're gonna get better next year. Let's just turn up and get better and better. We still look at our teams that we used to take back in the day and laugh at the little team because we thought we really had a chance of winning. We probably didn't, but in our mind, when we turned up, we were going there to win it. We might have got beat first round, but we didn't care. It was
win, lose or draw. We've never had a bad weekend of the knockout. Everyone's been a good weekend. We could lose first round, or we could get through and win the final. Every weekend's the same. I reckon. It feels mad.
But we were looking back at our team, and there was some teams there. We were trying to work out how we even had a forward pack. We looked at the team. We were saying, "Oh, we play front row," because we just didn't have no one. But it was about turning up, playing the knockout, earning your stripes, and building building what we believe is a reputation.
And a culture, right?
Yeah, that when you play us, you're always going to have a hard game, and we've always gone with that. We're one of the foundation teams. Walgett's been in a knockout for 51 years, and that's something that we carry with pride. So doesn't matter what game, we'll always go to win the knockout, but we'll never not enjoy what we believe is one of the most special weekends of the year.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, Like you carry those same principles, bro. That knockout's one weekend for us, but it's not the only thing in our lives, and that's what a lot of our people got to realise. It's not just a knockout. As Aboriginal men, we've still got to work every week, and it's where some of I just think a lot of people, knockout this, knockout that. You know what? It's 52 weeks in a year. Rose boys aren't focused on that knockout every week. It's in your mind, and you've got to get there, and it's vital for your community for you to continue to rep at this level where you are at now with business and lateral thinking. And we know there's different ways that we've got to maneuver, which is different to the rest of society, just because of our history of our country and the way our people continue to kind of battle. But you guys are absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing, and just want to thank you for coming on the podcast today, and hopefully I can get you to come back, and we talk about more on the journey, because what you're doing is amazing, and as the journey continues, I think that you're going to keep knocking down barriers. And like George, you bar out, bro. Like you transferred from being an NRL player into a commentary, now promoter, and a family man. I think, like, family, what does family mean to you? Matt, you as well, and Trent.
That's everything. I'm not going you answer it.
Just to finish off, eh? Yeah.
No, it's everything. Well, I mean, one of my biggest highlights from this year's knockout was my kids were the ball boys for this year. Like my daughter was there with her cousins, and they were cheering and enjoying the weekend. And my son was running the tee out, and he was a ball boy with his cousins and with his mates, some of the boys' kids, all around the same age. And
that's what we did.
We grew up as ball boys. I was a ball boy for Walgett and just did the knockout in general. I remember doing it in Redfern and Henson, and even going through our team. Tyson Hodge was a ball boy. Latrell Sigwell was a ball boy. William Kennedy was a ball boy. Like everyone grew up through that same experience, and that's why they carry that same passion and that same drive for the knockout, because they get to experience it at a young age. And I know, looking at them kids now, I'm telling you now, in 15 odd years, we're going to have a red hot little knockout side with all the little boys playing together. So they're going to learn everything from what they see now. Like families everything to us.
Yeah, that's it.
Glad to that.
No, that's it. That is what it is. Yeah. It's what we live for, and we can only thank our mum who took over a role for Dad as well. When Dad passed, we were only fairly young, so Mum has always allowed us to continue to sort of experience and connect with our both sides of the family, and that's why growing up the way we did, and I think now our kids grow up the same way. It's special, and it's something that we'll always continue to do, and I know that Dad was around, he'd be super proud of where we're at with everything, and same with Pop. But it's something that we'll never forget where we come from, and never forget who helped us get there. And never forget the people that actually mean something to you, and family sort of come in different ways, whether they're blood or family that you've created through loyalty, and I think that's something that we carry with No Limit as well. Boys, when we look at the boys that are with us at No Limit and come to the events and help us out, they're boys that have been there from day one. We'll never forget that. So that's one thing I think we're pretty proud of, is that we'll always remain like that.
That's right. You anything to add?
No, that's it.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks so much, boys. Love you, and
Love it.
can't wait for the next yarn, and let everyone know where you're up to.
So far,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully, big year next year.
No doubt. No doubt.
Living on the leading edge of